All right. This is our very first question and answer session for Fog Project. My name's Wayne Workman. I'm a moderator on the Fog forums, and we have one, two, three, four, five people in the Hangout so far. Joe, are you there?
Yeah.
Good morning. Oh, and Uncle Frank is messaging me. I guess his name is Sebastian. He used to go by Uncle Frank. All right. So, okay, Sebastian's here now. Can you hear me? I think I have. Hmm. All right. So does everyone want to introduce themselves? Maybe say who they work for, or um, and if you're using Fog currently or not.
Sure. I'm Corey. Um, yeah, work for New Orleans College Prep. We're a charter school, K through 12. About 1,500 students. Um, been using Fog since .32, so
Wow.
maybe 3 years now since I started at the school. It's the first thing I implemented. Um, and we're running Trunk now, about 890 hosts. Yeah, it's great. We've tried switching to other things. We've tried, MDT, WDS, SCCM. All of it is way too much of a headache and a pain. So really impressed with what the developers do.
Yeah, they work. They work really hard. I don't think Tom sleeps. Um,
No, I get there at 4 in the morning, and there's sometimes he's already answering posts. So
yeah, and Joe's done quite a bit too. He's balancing college and work, and he managed to put together a client that can work on three different major platforms with one binary. That's pretty impressive. Let's see. I work for the Ferguson Florissant School District in St. Louis, Missouri, and we used to use Symantec Ghost there, and that's what we used at. That's what I used at my last job, and well, I was pretty adamant to get Fog working then, and with some help, I got it working, and we've been running Trunk in our entire school district. We're going to use it this entire summer at all of our locations to image everything to Windows 10. I tried to get WDS to work, and maybe it's just me, but I couldn't really figure out how to get it working. But Fog worked pretty much after a week of playing with it. Um, we're about to build a really large centralized Fog server for 11 buildings. All of our elementary schools and middle schools are going to have a centralized server because they're all on the same domain. So that's going to be fun to set up this summer. Um, let's see. Is there anyone here that isn't using Fog yet?
We're just trying it. I'm sure you've seen me on the forums quite a bit, bugging everybody. But currently, we're using Novell Zenworks, and it is just so slow at doing anything.
Is this Andrew?
And no, it's Austin.
Who? Austin? Okay.
Yeah. And I came across it when one of our other school districts, and I also currently work for a school district in Delaware as well. He was using it and was very impressed with it. And of course, it being open source, my boss was immediately hesitant about it. So I decided to take upon it on my off hours and try to get one up and running. And when it was just a single server, everything was great. And then we started branching out to the whole locations thing, and then that's where I started plastering the forums left and right. So currently, when I was using it as a single server, it was fantastic. So now that I'm trying to branch out, and I built the main server, and I have that one location, and then we will probably add in 6 more locations. Once I can get those first 2 working great, then I'll build the other 5 and rock it out there. So far, I really love the speed of it and the simplicity of the GUI.
Tom's made a lot of improvements to the GUI. He gets better at PHP every day. I think he runs tests. I wish he was here so that he could say all this stuff. He runs tests in his test environment at home where he has like 10,000 or 8,000 fake hosts, and he's been working on improving the list all speed of all those, and it's really a lot faster than it was, I don't know, maybe 2,000 trunk versions ago.
Yeah, like I said, we literally just got our feet wet with it like a month and a half ago. We got in some Optiplex 5040s, and Zenworks just would not load the NIC drivers for Pixie. So I was like, okay. So I went ahead, and one weekend I went in and built up the Fog server and was pushing images and the same day. So I think I convinced my boss a little bit then that this might be a really good way to go.
What did you follow any tutorial?
Yeah, I think it was either on the wiki or someone posted something very similar to Spiceworks, and I pretty much just followed it step by step, and it was just up and running. And the more I did it, the more I understood what it was asking for and knew exactly what needed to be put in. And like I said on the forums, I'm very, very new to the whole Linux world, so all those commands that you helped me with the other day really helped speed up the upgrading and this, that, and the other thing, and learning where some of the files are and what those files contain and what I'm looking for has really been helpful.
Yep. There are some tutorials in the Fog wiki. I've put together ones recently for CentOS 7 and Fedora. I'm working on one for Ubuntu 16 server. How did you guys learn about Fog to begin with? Like, how did you come to find out about it?
First, can you guys hear me okay?
Who's that?
That's Mike.
Mike.
Mike Optimusburger.
Yep. We can hear you.
Great. Just quick introduce myself. I actually work for CISA 5, which is a co-op, small district kind of IT tool. We take over for the districts that can't handle a full IT team or even just a full-time IT person. And we take care of 5 school districts right now, which are all smaller. To answer your question, I came across Fog because the other gentleman I work with actually had it in place. It wasn't, yeah, I mean, he was running the 1.2.0, and that was it, straight. He never updated it with Git or anything. So it was still kind of the older, interface and everything. And we updated everything, and the only problem we ran into the entire process, he set up a couple of servers, I had set up a couple of servers at the different locations. He was just using Fog as the initial user to log in. So every time he'd update, it would go sideways on me, couldn't SSH back in or anything, and figured that out. But yeah, it's vastly improved just in the year and a half I've been using it. I appreciate that. So it's getting even better now with Windows 10 and Windows 10's kind of agnostic hardware profiles. I know with 7 you had to do the fog prep and everything, and sysprep if you really wanted to push it out to a large environment. We only have 3 or 4 different computer types at our schools, so it's not a huge deal. So
Yeah, having a limited number of models, it definitely helps simplify things. So do you use a universal image, or do you have an image per model?
I'm working on a universal image. He was initially, I walked in, he had probably 12 different images, 3 or 4 for each different model that were for different purposes. And I said, okay, I kind of took it on myself, and I've been doing it on the side at night and everything, where you build one master image, and then you maybe have a little bit here and there off of that for student images, teacher images, I prefer to, we use smartboards in our schools, and if you throw a smartboard in every computer, it really tends to slow it down. So, yeah, I'm working on improving that process. That's kind of why I'm here today, too, is to figure out better ways to do things.
So how do you deploy the, so I guess the smartboard is the actual smartboard brand. How do you deploy that software, or do you just put it on the image?
It depends on the school. Like, I'm in the Wild Rose School District, and there they use all smartboards in every room. So in my teacher image, I have Smart installed automatically. It just goes out to every image. Some of my smaller district, I install Smart just after the fact. I go into the room and I'll sit down, or actually half the time I'll team viewer in and just pop it on there for them. So less disruption of the class and everything that way. So it really, I guess, depends on the environment. They're all very different.
Right. So what, do you use the Fog client?
Yes. I know with Windows 10 it's still, it seems a little in the works for some things. The automatic joining of domains doesn't always work properly for me. Like in my other school district, Tri-County, it'll join the domain, and then afterwards it'll give me the error about not being a trusted one, so I have to take it back out and join it back in, and it works fine.
Oh boy. I think the mailman is here. Okay. Alright. With the domain trust issue, typically that happens when the image is already joined to a domain.
Okay. So these are Windows 10 clients. I keep them on. I don't do any kind of fog prep because I was reading in the forums and everything that with Windows 10 that's not essential anymore. Is that correct?
Right. It's not needed anymore, actually.
Okay. Good. Yeah. So I haven't been doing that. I've been downloading the newest client. I do very much appreciate that you guys are updating that constantly too. It makes life easier, that's for sure. So, I guess really the only thing that's about it. My only real bug is that. Other than that, I've been working through that, trying to figure out why it's happening, and I'll eventually get it. I don't hop in the forums too often because that's a lot of time involved for me, unfortunately. I said I have 5 school districts I watch over.
Yeah. Another thing it could be is the computers having the same name. There could be a renaming issue. Fog has a early name change feature that happens during imaging. It's just basically changing some registry entries. And for me, that works pretty good on Windows 7 and Windows 10. When the computer first boots up immediately after imaging, it has the correct name. So that could also be your problem, is computers having the same name before they or when they try to join the domain.
Yeah, that would totally make sense. So is that client you said, is that on the forums or the newest trunk version?
The client, well, there's 2 different versions, the legacy client and the new client.
Yep.
And we would always recommend the new client. It's more robust, easier on bandwidth. Joe should really talk about this.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
So, with the new client, the domain joining issue you've mentioned, I've seen it once before, and we weren't sure what was causing it. We think it was the early hostname changer, what Wayne was mentioning, and that would just be a setting in your fog settings on your server.
Yeah.
Because how this client actually joins the domain is very similar on how, if you're going to do it manually, it's just using the underlying commands that Windows uses.
Right. So it may just be the settings not fully done on my part, and then I can go in there and check that.
It's possible. I know that Windows 10 domain joining does work properly because we do have several test universities which have been reporting that there's no errors yet.
Excellent. Yeah, no, totally not blaming you guys. The software is fantastic. That was my only issue so far, like I said. So we've been using it since way back when. I'm pushing for the Windows 10 upgrade. My other guy was pretty nervous about it at first, but the way I see it is there's so many universities and schools doing it that I have no problem with it.
Yeah, we've had no problems with the naming and domain joining either. Just yesterday, I was able to get the Windows 10 default profile issues sorted out with JJ Fulmer's scripts. It's in a thread called on the forums called default profile breaks Cortana search or something like that. If you search for default profile, you'll find it. I was able to deploy a Windows 10 default profile with the start menu tiles customized and some other settings customized through a Snapin. And as long as the Snapin is associated, every time you image a computer, after imaging, that Snapin will run. And that's how we're going to deploy default profiles this year. And it takes care of the Windows animation as well for users logging in for the first time on a particular computer.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've already kind of froze my tiles in place. You have those teachers who don't do well with change, of course, so I've done that so that everything's easy to get to.
Yep. Hi, Dan. Welcome to the Hangout.
Hey, what's up?
So, where are you from, Dan? Who do you work for?
I'm actually from, I would say, Somerset, Pennsylvania. For you people who don't know too well, that's probably about Pittsburgh.
Okay.
Okay.
We've been talking about how we use fog and how we learned about it.
Well, in the beginning, I was using a ghosting Symantec Ghost, and it was just too much aggravation behind it that was giving me issues. have to purchase, licensing and all that other good fun stuff, and we were just having issues with funding at that point in time. So we were looking for a more free solution. We ran across Fog, and it just made us try it out at least, and it was working quite well with, we just started off on a lower end laptop to see if it would just work. I started off with maybe like 200 somewhere, and then I started jumping in and made it more. Right now I'm doing about 750 a year, so that's pretty much where I'm at.
750 is a good number. And you image these every year or annually or as you need.
I do every machine every single year.
That's how I do it.
Yeah. If I actually have trouble, say a teacher would bring me a laptop if I'm constantly having trouble with it, basically first thing I say, what's wrong with the hardware? Because the image is pretty much all the same on with every machine. So, every once in a while they even sell whatever third-party apps, and I just don't even want to deal with it, so I just write the machine and I'm done with it. It takes like 15 minutes and I can hand it back to them.
Cool. Do you use the Fog client?
I'm currently using the old Fog client. I'm this year we're going to be migrating over to the new Fog client, and I'm going to be working with Joe a lot with that.
Cool. I guess you're running Fog Trunk now at this point.
Oh,
Can you hear me, Dan?
no problem.
All right. Yeah. So, let's see. Does anyone have any questions about, like, problems that they have typically with image deployments?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you very faintly.
Yeah. Broken service. Okay, now? No?
Yeah, we can hear you, but it's just really faint.
Right, okay, sorry. Yeah, I keep getting an issue with CRC32 errors when I'm deploying images from. I'm on Fog Trunk. I don't know what number it is, probably a couple of weeks old, but we just keep every second image, we just get these CRC32 copy errors where when it does a check if the image is copied correctly, it keeps finding corruption. But it wouldn't even be every second. It's random when it happens. So I posted on the forums, and I think someone said they seem to think it's my hardware, but I'm running it on the same service that I run. It's download, Frank. The downloading images declined, so it's really strange. Yeah, I've never had the issue on the upload. I don't do that as frequently, though, obviously, as deployment. But the weird thing is, you would think if the image was corrupt on the server that when you deployed it, you might get that CRC32 error. But why would it then work the next time, no problem? So, I don't know. It's a really weird problem.
What model of hardware are you using? And Uncle Frank says server RAM.
Well, the service on the host, it's a couple of year old HP DL380. And, I mean, the RAM's fine. It's running on an ESXi host. There's nothing wrong with the RAM. I don't think it's hardware. It seems to be software. But the hardware that we're applying to is a range of mainly Dell Latitudes and some Dell desktops. It doesn't seem to be dependent on the actual hardware you're deploying it to, though. They all seem to have the same issue. I have deployed to Lenovo's, we get the same issue. So, but mainly Dells we use.
Can you image anything?
Yeah, I image everything with the same Zoe. So the Windows 7 one handles drivers after. I did a guide, the Windows 7 guide on the Fog forum. Do you remember that?
Uh, do what? I'm sorry.
I did the guide for the Windows 7 deployment on the Fog forum
Oh, okay.
a while ago, and I used to use this SAD2 deployment. I don't know if anyone else used it, but um, yeah. Anyway, I'm deploying one image, either mainly Windows 7, and it's a universal solid any machine. But yeah, they just randomly have this CRC32 error. So it looks like Corey got the link there. I think that must be the thread that I posted. So
Do you see what Uncle Frank posted there?
you want to what's suggesting I extract the images?
Yeah, he's Uncle Frank would know.
Okay.
Do you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Well, what I just meant is you could try extracting one of the images just to see if it's bugged or anything.
If it's what? Sorry.
If it's like if the image itself has some kind of failure in it.
All right. Okay. Yeah, it's a bit strange when the next time I deploy the images perfectly, and
Oh, right, okay. So the same image.
like Windows, I'm deploying and using these in production like this. If there was some issue with the image, people you'd think would be bringing the computers back. So yeah, the server passes mem tests. I've run all kinds of tests on it, so I don't know. It's really weird. I think I should just rebuild it and see if I get the same issue, but not sure. It's pretty weird. I think it must be something unique to my environment or my physical host because no one else seems to be having the same issue. So.
Is it random client having that issue?
Yeah, it's random. I can't reproduce it reliably, but it happens. It seems to happen randomly. You just can't predict it. So it deploys the entire image, it checks the image, and then it gets the CRC32 mismatch and restarts the machine, and then it won't boot Windows. It's definitely corrupt. So when it gets that error,
No.
Could be even some kind of error on the network. I mean, like drop
yeah,
packages. Well, usually TCP doesn't. It usually fails completely, or it just gives you an error.
yeah, it could be network. That's what I'm saying. It could be something unique to my environment. So I guess I just need to do more testing. But it doesn't really worry me that much because I have other people deploying images these days, and it's honestly not that common. But I never had the issue before when I was running 32. We were running 0.32 for years since I started in 2011 at this company. We've been using the same file server that was already in place. So, and I didn't touch that server for years, like until probably, I don't know, a couple of months ago when I really had to get some Windows 10 machines image. So I just set up a new server with a trunk, and yeah, now I'm getting these issues. Otherwise, trunk's brilliant. It's a lot better than 32, and I can deploy 10. It's great, but these, yeah, CRC 32 mismatch is really weird.
So what version? I guess you said you're running trunk. Um, there's no checksums on the images when they're deployed besides just the gunzip CRC check. I'd probably suggest using a mini switch and from the server to the host you're trying to image, and just see if that works, and use new patch cables as well.
Yeah, it could be. It could be. I think it's probably something to do with my environment because I recently set up a NUC with AirSips on it, and one of the machines was a box server to go over to a remote office. So, I've deployed about 30 machines off that, and I haven't had the issue with that one. So it definitely seems to be something to do with my environment, I guess. But it's very strange. I never had it with 32, but. Anyway, yeah, like you said, it's just troubleshooting. So,
Yep. Let's see. When do you think the next client will be released, Joe?
For the next client, ideally within a week or two, but the issue we're currently facing is with Printer Manager. There's been a few issues lately with Windows 10 and Printer Manager not working properly. And then also the next version of the client will include Linux and Mac versions of GreenFog, so that those need to go under extensive testing before release.
Yep, I'll be doing GreenFog in my environment for sure. We need a way to log kids out, because when the bell rings, when they need to change classes, if they're in a rush, they don't log out. They just walk off, and then that causes problems. So we need to figure out how to, I guess, at intervals throughout the day based on the bell schedule, just, I guess, log off students that are in the student security group in Active Directory, because we don't want to log teachers off, of course. So I'll be messing with that here this summer as well. And we'll see what happens with that.
So now you're talking, can you use GreenFog and save the day to log off computers, shut them down, or that kind of thing, so updates are applied, that sort of thing?
That could be one use of GreenFog, is to, like, I guess, reboot them at a certain time to make sure everyone's logged off before you push out Windows updates.
Yeah, excellent. Okay.
So what version of Fog is everybody running? Is everybody here on Trunk?
Yes.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. We have a bunch of hardcore Fog people here this morning.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. Yeah. Like everybody said, we've all gone through pains of using other solutions that just don't really cut it. And, I mean, could use CCM or whatever, but the investment's just so much for such small environments at times, you know. Or Fog, honestly, I've rebuilt the servers in all different locations, and it's such a simple process. As long as your underlying network is in place, everything else works just perfect.
Yep.
You'd mentioned using Ubuntu 16 before. I haven't yet upgraded to that. That was, I guess, the question I had.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, can you do a base install of 1604 now LTS and use Fog without any of the upstart errors, or I'm not even sure what they're using now, to be honest.
Fog Trunk will run on Ubuntu 16.04. There are some specific commands that you need to run with the installer to set the PHP version properly. And at the moment where the installer asks you to go to the web interface to update the database schema, at that point you would go to MySQL via command line in, I guess, another terminal session, another SSH session, and you would update the root password on the MySQL database, and
Okay.
then go and update your database schema in the web interface, and then everything will work fine, and updates will work fine from that point forward as well. I've installed it here at home, and it's worked fine. And I've also set up a storage node on Ubuntu 16, and that worked fine as well.
Nice. Okay. Excellent. So just a little more hands-on than usual, but nothing too out of the ballpark.
Yeah, Ubuntu changes things with every version quite a bit, and it's always a scramble to get it working. But it does work.
I know, just even the 12 to 14 was a huge, like big project for you guys. I know. So like I said, I appreciate all your work.
It would be mostly Tom doing that, and Uncle Frank with that work there. I'm sure that there's some other developers that have contributed to that as well, but it's mostly Tom.
Nice.
Yeah. I'm told that Trunk will install on Ubuntu 12 just fine. I think that Wolfbane, Dan, I think he said that he runs Trunk on Ubuntu 12, or at least he knows that it works. I think I remember from the forums him saying that. I would personally advise against installing Ubuntu 12 just because I don't know how much longer they're going to support it. I would probably say the two little deviations with the installation, they're not major, and I would say just go with Ubuntu 16 if you're a Ubuntu person. I like Fedora, personally. We have a mixture of Fedora 21, Fedora 23, and CentOS 7 at work. And all of those, they work fine.
So just Ubuntu is the problem child?
Usually, yes.
Okay.
Let's see. Does anybody have any other questions that they've thought of that they would like to ask? Or, it doesn't have to be a question, I guess. Just anything you would like to say. We've been going for about roughly 45 minutes now. So,
Personally, I love software. It just gets better. So there's always going to be hiccups no matter what in software. It's just nice that it's open source. So you have developers who work on it, somebody that can always improve it. So and it helps that it's free because that's great for school districts that are just can't afford the big companies to come in and set up SCCM or anything for them. So.
Yep, and the reason they do that is quote unquote support, where you email a person and get a reply the next day or a week later, or yeah. Smaller projects like Fog, which is, I think, it's growing really quickly. The Fog site, just this month alone, and Joe can say it, the site has had over 600,000 views in the last month, which is more than it's ever had before.
That's awesome.
I'm probably 100,000 of those.
100,000, yeah. And it's
Who
great.
updated the site? It looks awesome. I noticed that recently. Was that you, Wade?
Go ahead.
Sorry, who updated the website? It looks really awesome.
Yeah, NodeBB. That's also an open source project.
Are you talking about the main site or the forums?
Both, I guess. The forums are cool, but yeah, the main site, I was just checking it before. It looks really schmick now.
So I delegated both those site upgrades because they were very sorely needed.
Yeah, they look great.
Yep. The wiki. I've been working at updating articles in the wiki as I have time. Some things it's above my head, and I just leave it alone. But I've worked to make quite a few articles to help people, tutorials, videos, explaining things. I'm planning on making a short little video about Vi here soon, because so many articles link to the Vi article, and Vi is difficult for people that have never used a command line text editor before. It was pretty new to me when I first used it, but now it's like second nature. So I need to really make a video on that, showing how to use that.
That'd be helpful. I do have a question. I know if I pull down the 1.2.0 fog and install it, I can easily use ISO images with it. When I finally did a trunk upgrade, I could not for the life of me figure that out. Do you guys have a good link for a resource on how to?
Yeah, I can get a link that has several examples for you. Let me see. I think the article is called Include Any ISO. Yep, include any ISO in the fog boot menu. So here's a link for you. That has several examples in it.
Excellent, thank you.
Yep. Does anyone have any other questions?
I guess the next step that I'll be trying to figure out is the moving drivers from the server to Windows. And I saw Corey posted that link over there. And I think I've been looking through that forum a bit, but looking at the script, of course, I'm not in this world, so I'm not real sure what I'm supposed to be looking at, or which one that I should probably use to pull the drivers from there. And the way that I was going to do it was, I guess, the newer way that people were doing it, where you put the slash images slash model name slash like Win7 slash X32 or X86, and then you put your driver cap extracted in there. And then you can pull that over to the C drive of Windows into like a driver folder, and then have the registry set to look there.
In Windows, the Windows is it looks in a folder called C:\/ drivers by default to look for drivers for new devices.
I didn't even realize.
You can deploy those drivers with snap-ins to specific groups of hosts, specific groupings. If you wanted to use sysprep's post methods, post deployment methods, you would need to have a Samba share set up on your fog server. It could be either the images folder, or any folder. You could set up Samba to share, and then you could have the script call those drivers and pull them down and put them in the C drivers folder for you.
Right. That's what I was trying to accomplish, and that's my next step. And I think it was George had an article where he posted like snippets of his, and then I pulled all those snippets and put it as one. But I'm not sure if it will work yet. I haven't really had a chance to test that, as the master image that I created yesterday replicated overnight to my crappy 10 megabyte. So and that's where I'm at, so I can test a lot faster. But the scripting part to me is where I will probably be a bit lost and behind on to get that copy over.
I don't understand. Sorry, Austin, are you trying to pull drivers from the fog server once the images are deployed? Is that what you're trying to do?
Right, yeah. So, like, after the image comes down, and then I assume it's the post download scripts that run, and then it should call another script in there that should do that copy. Am I correct in saying that?
Yes, in the way that I sent it.
Post download scripts is one way. That's Linux based. So you would be post download scripts run while your system is still offline. From my understanding, immediately after imaging is complete, you can use NTFS -3G to mount the file system, and then you can make changes to it, and you can use a shell script to do those, or you could use Windows scripts, post deployment scripts. They can be batch scripts, PowerShell scripts. You can use snap-ins and batch scripts or PowerShell scripts to deploy them that way too. There's many ways to do this. I would probably say that post deployment scripts would be the most efficient way to do it, because then you don't have to rely on snap-ins. But there's definitely several pathways that you can take to get it done.
To give you a third pathway, what you can actually do is in Windows 7 specifically, you can actually go into the registry and add a default path that Windows looks for drivers. So, if you change that and edit it to such as something like a NAS storage, you store all your drivers into that folder, Windows will automatically look for that location for drivers. Has anyone done that yet?
That sounds pretty great. Do you have a link to the registry key for that?
That's actually directly off of a Windows website, so I don't have that directly on me as I'm sitting on my porch.
Yeah, I see that. Okay.
But if you look in
that points to the default, I guess what is it? The system, the INF folder in Windows, and then I think you modify that key if I'm remembering that correctly.
I don't know. I'll explain how I do it, because I think it's very different from what you guys do.
Yeah,
so,
the place back.
Yep, Corey
so
posted it.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I think it's very interesting the way that you guys do it, because I do it totally different. I have the, I mean, I'm lucky because I do only use Dells, so there's a lot of crossover in the drivers. But I mean, I put the drivers in the image, and I use the driver packs, and after the images are deployed, I just use the setup complete script to then launch an SFX that's already in the image, which then runs a driver installer and automatically installs all the drivers. So it's all automated, and then it just restarts. So it's really basic, but it works beautifully on any hardware. So I think I should probably do a new guide for how I did it, because I did one for Windows 7 a while ago, and I used a different bit of software called SAD2. I don't know, some of you guys might have used it in the past, but there's a newer one now called Snappy Drivers. I don't know if anyone's heard of that, but it's awesome. And yeah, I use that for the Windows 10 machines, and it's great. I haven't had any issues, and it's really simple.
Wayne, I posted that link.
I see that. So driverpacks.net.
Yeah, that was kind of my old way of doing it, but I think I'll do a guide on this new way, because I think it would really help you other guys that are still having issues with drivers. Because as good as Windows 10 is with drivers, I had the same issue. You still need specific drivers, so I might do a guide on it, because it's a really simple way to do it. So.
I do it very similar to where I put under C:/drivers. The other thing I put under there is my network drivers, so I make sure no matter what hardware goes to it, it's got the network drivers. And then I have a network share that has the rest of the driver packs.net drivers in it. That way they can all just pull right down from there. I mean, Windows 10's pretty damn good with their drivers, but yeah, they're missing a few. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my next question. Was like when Dan was saying to have the drivers on a network share and have it call that folder. I was going to ask if he was actually putting his network drivers already on the master image beforehand to make sure you have the connection to that share.
Yes, you have to. That's the only way.
Okay.
So there's definitely a lot of options here for having a universal image. It's something that I really need to do myself. I haven't done it yet. We have, oh my gosh, probably, I deleted a bunch of images yesterday and we still have like 25. We have all of our old Windows 7 images and then all of our new Windows 10 images. We have a lot of different models of devices.
Could I ask a quick question?
Sure, shoot.
Is there anything, maybe I'm missing it, but a way to deploy software after the fact? As your image goes out, can you have it push software out right away?
Absolutely, and the way to do that is with snap-ins. You have to have it set up in a way where it's completely silent. If there's any input or pop-up or box at all with the snap-in, then it won't work because it'll just sit there and wait for input. But you can run a PowerShell script to deploy software as you need. You can run a batch script to deploy software as you need. You can run an MSI in silent mode through snap-ins to deploy software. You can run EXEs as long as there's a silent option to deploy software. And you can also, I mean, like I do with some of our testing software called the EOC, it's just a file copy. And all I do is just run a batch script to copy files to the desktop, and then that's all it needs, you know. So different software has different needs, but there's a lot of ways to do this. And the way to make it automated, you would create your snap-in, test it, make sure it works, and then you would associate that snap-in to the hosts you want it to deploy to after imaging. And when you create, this is in Fog Trunk, by the way, not 1.2.0. So you would associate the snap-in with the hosts, but not run it, just associate it. And then when you create a image deployment task for those hosts, there will be, in task management, you'll see an image task and a snap-in task. And the snap-in task will go ahead and run after the computer boots up after imaging.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, because I mean, there's stupid little things like adding shortcuts to your desktop for certain computers, and that could be automated then.
Yep.
Excellent. Thank you.
You're welcome. And here's another link for drivers. It's the Snappy Driver Installer that Andrew posted. And that's on SourceForge.
Yeah, I think it's open source, but I just use a script. Yeah, post deployment. It's just all automated. It runs the installer. Doesn't run it silently because we're usually the ones deploying the image. Then it just does a reboot afterwards, and it's all good. So.
Yep. Snap-ins can also do reboots as well. You can either click the checkbox to reboot after the snap-in is complete, or you can just, in a script, tell it to reboot. Or if there's a switch on an MSI package that you're deploying, you can have it reboot that way. There's many ways to do reboots.
Now, snap-ins always run, like, completely silent?
Always. All snap-ins must be silent.
Okay. Because I know
just something that I was looking at yesterday on like a really, really rough dry run was I assigned 3 snap-ins and I used the numbering it in sequential order so I can fire them off in the correct order. And I could tell that the one ran, which was nice, but it ran. Basically, it logged in as the administrator account, and then it ran, but then it reboot, which was what I needed it to do. But there was that whole time that it was up for that like minute or whatever, a user could have went and got on it with that local admin account, used it. I didn't know if there's a way that it could like lock. I don't know. I think you know what I'm trying to say. I think like lock out the.
You're trying to prevent people from using the system before it's done, basically.
Right. Yeah.
Well, is that administrator account password protected?
Well, it's part of the unattend that it gets auto logged in so that the scripts can run. And then once this first script runs and does this thing, it'll reboot, and then it'll log in for a second time to do this second project, because the first one requires restarts to occur.
You're sysprepping, correct?
What's that?
You're sysprepping?
Yeah.
So what you're describing, you can actually do this in your auto logon after sysprep. You can actually, in batch, I'm assuming you're using a batch script here?
PowerShell.
PowerShell. In PowerShell, you can lock the workstation. So as soon as the script fires, it'll lock the workstation, and scripts will still be running, but the user won't be able to access anything.
Okay. I'll look into that. Thanks.
That sounds pretty nice. That would be a pretty valid. I think that there should be a wiki article just on that, and we really need to get some better documentation together for universal images. It's documentation on a universal image is pretty scarce on the internet. I've searched quite a bit, and I keep coming back to the one wiki article about it on Fog's site. So we need to have better documentation for that process.
Yeah, well, I'll do a guide up to Windows 10 when I get time. But yeah, I can do it because I was kind of forced recently to do a Windows 10 image for any hardware recently. So and it's working great. So I could easily do a guide up for it. So.
Cool. So we're at about an hour and 5 minutes. If you've got things to do, feel free to do those things. Does anyone have any other questions or any other statements or?
It's a shame Tom couldn't be here. It would have been good to meet Tom because, I mean, for a while there, like, I felt that the project was really dying, and I don't know what year it was exactly. Probably like maybe 2013, maybe 2012 or something. I'm not sure when it was exactly. But then when Tom came in, it just felt like a real one-man guy was just trying to lift this thing back up, and
he did.
It was brilliant.
He did.
So there was all this development happening, and yeah, it was great. And from then, I didn't look at it for quite a while until I sort of had to again when I really needed Windows 10 recently, like I said. And Strunk is brilliant compared to what it was. So yeah, it's a shame. It would have been great to meet Tom, but anyway.
Yeah, thanks for being here, Frank. Tom, I sent him the invite, and he's just probably busy doing something. There's probably a 50% chance right now that he's writing code, and not even aware of this Hangout, if I had to guess. And then there's a 50% chance that he's doing something else.
50% chance he's forgotten to eat and sleep, and he's just working on the project again.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, honestly, like, I pay a lot of money for other software. I don't get support anywhere near as good as what I get with Bob. So, like, if I put a post on a forum, I get a response usually from Tom or someone else that knows, they're actually developing, working on the project. So, it's amazing support. It's brilliant.
Exactly what Andrew said. Working in a school district, we pay for tons of support for other crap, and the stuff that they do versus the free help that you guys volunteer is far superior, it seems, than what you pay thousands of dollars a year for on other platforms.
Yep. And it's amazing that an open source project can do so well as far as performance, functionality, hardware compatibility, and you can talk directly to either an experienced fog user, or a developer themselves, posting on the forums and get a reply in sometimes minutes, and usually under an hour. You just don't get that anywhere else, and it's all volunteer based and free. And there's nothing quite like it, I don't think, besides maybe Linux itself. So
yeah, there's like a deployment solution called, I think it's Crucible WDS or something like that was out there that I think they kind of try to emulate Fog more.
It is a fork of Fog.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, of older version of Fog. It's a fork, yeah.
Nice.
I keep getting these messages.
And Wayne, you're a big part of that. I mean, you joined the forum about a year ago. You already have 6.4 thousand posts. I mean, come on.
I try.
You're dominating. You're dominating. That's all I'm saying.
I find it to be fun and challenging, and solving problems is my thing. That's what I've been doing since I was a kid. Sure, you can.
That is just how Wayne is when he finds something that he likes. He goes all in and really, really commits to it. And spends all his time on it.
And we thank him for that.
You're welcome. I don't always have answers. Like, I kind of stay out of threads that I have no idea what's going on. And Uncle Frank, he's talking about like sectors on hard drives, start sectors, and decoding MBRs from hexadecimal to plain text, and like all this other craziness, and he's good at it, really good. And then George is pumping out tutorials left and right, and it's like a challenge to get those into the wiki because every other word is either underlined, in italics, bolded, or in red, or bullet pointed, or... And so I try to convert those. Yeah. But a year ago, I didn't really know anything, and I was completely new to Fog and Linux, and it's been an adventure.
They mostly dumb it down for the rest of us and do Google Hangouts.
Yeah. Yeah, I try to
Has
make...
anyone thought,
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, has anyone thought any more about an appliance? I posted a thread a little while ago about it, and I think everyone sort of generally thought it was a good idea, but no one could really sort of agree on what it would look like. And then nothing's really happened, so I haven't really had time to look at it since I started that thread. So
The idea of an appliance keeps coming up. There's like a secret area in the forums that moderators, I think, and developers can see, and there's a thread in there. It's been going on for like 3 years. Um, it wouldn't be a very expensive appliance, I don't think, because Fog is so lightweight, especially with the improvements that Tom and Joe have made to the new client uh, here recently.
yeah, I
So,
was talking more about a virtual appliance, not a physical.
yeah, there's been talk about that too, having pre-made virtual machines ready to go for the various virtual platforms like Hyper-V, ESXi, and then VMware. Uh, um, Fog
Yeah,
has been run on a Nook before, Corey. George set it up and did it, and it runs fine apparently. We've
yeah, I'm
also
running a XI on a NUC, but it's not running natively on a NUC.
yeah, and I think Uncle Frank, who had to leave, he's set up in automated installs using Fay, uh, automatic installer. It's like an automatic installer solution, open source Linux solution. Um, he's been able to set that up with Fog Trunk, I think, and there's also I've been pushing for a Fog Linux distribution, which Tom is completely capable of doing. And that would simplify things quite a bit as well.
That would be awesome. Then you'd have basically it would work all the time, no matter what. You don't have hiccups.
Yep. And everything just be set up for you right from the get go.
Right.
The one thing we would have to worry about with that though is hosting it. Storage-wise, our server that hosts the forums and whatnot, that is already under pretty heavy load from all of the traffic and limited space. So we have to would have to think about hosting it.
Okay. Well, is that? I guess that would be something where maybe we push for some donations. I mean, I know you have donations up front. It's a free project, but it's something I would hate to see ever go away.
So donations, they're a nice concept, but we don't really receive them that much. Occasionally, like $10 here and there. We do have one company that's pretty generous with us, but most of our revenue comes from ads. The single ad on the forums is really switched us from paying out of pocket for all our hosting costs to being able to make like $20 now and then.
Okay.
I run my Fog setup in Hyper-V at work.
Okay, the only reason I really asked was because we use we have ESXi host, and then we have all our virtual servers are all VMware, and I was just kind of wondering what specs you guys are using when you're setting up your servers. Like by default, unless it really is like a heavy end server like our ZenWorks SQL or something like that, most of ours just get the standard setup we give out, which is like 2 CPUs with 2 cores and 4 gigs memory. And I didn't know if anybody was running more than that, less than that. Am I overdoing it, underdoing it?
It
I
depends.
got.
Go ahead.
Sorry, Wayne. You got.
It depends on your load. The more hosts you have, I mean, also if you're using the new client or the legacy client, either or, that's going to have a sustained load because those clients communicate with the server every so often. You can set this if you have 20,000 hosts, you can set the check-in time to be less often, and that lowers load. If you have very few clients, you could turn it up all the way. You could probably have it set at 30 seconds if you wanted. At work, my fog server has 4 cores assigned to it, 4 gigs of RAM, and a 500 gigabyte virtual hard drive. At home, fog runs inside of a virtual machine on the physical machine that runs it is a Core 2 Duo with DDR2 RAM and a SATA 2 hard drive, and that fog shares those 2 cores with 3 other operating systems plus the base operating system. It's got 512 megs assigned to it, 2 cores. It's pretty slow, works fine for me and, my occasional imaging at home. But I've also run Fog Trunk on a Pentium 4 that has an IDE drive in it, and whatever RAM speeds those are, and it runs fine.
So I guess I'm probably just in a decent state with mine. Because I think if we actually end up going full blown with it around the entire district, then I think it would be about 2,500 hosts.
You just got to watch your CPU usage. You can run top, just TOP, and you can see how hard the CPU is working, how many HTTPD sessions there are simultaneously, and you can adjust the check-in times to lower the load. And I really don't foresee any more load-related issues with the changes that the new client has had implemented recently. I really think that the load issues are a thing of the past. But if you're talking about imaging, I mean, the main bottleneck is either the hard drive speed on the hosts or the hard drive speed on the server, because you can multicast to as many as you like. With unicasts, normally the bottleneck is network speeds, and then you can overcome that by just creating more storage nodes. And it doesn't have to be beefy hardware. I mean, just old computers you have laying around, you can set those up as storage nodes, no problem.
Oh yeah, you could set it up on a SAN. Sorry, go ahead.
I've even set it up on a Raspberry Pi just for giggles. So, it'll work.
All right.
Not gonna be fast, but it'll work.
Now the changes that you do make in the GUI to like the fog settings, is that instant, or is there a service that needs to be restarted in order for that to all take effect? Like sleep times or throttling bandwidth on image replication?
For the image throttling, that happens. So say nothing is happening on the fog server at the moment. The throttling limits between nodes, that only applies to replication for images and snap-ins. Firstly, it doesn't apply to imaging itself. There's no throttles for imaging, but those changes happen immediately. And if replication is currently underway, the next LFTP command that is issued will have those changes in it. For the sleep times, when you make the change for, say, how often the fog client checks in, well, the fog client will get those new settings the next time it checks in.
Okay. And you're saying for the image replications, if there's already a transfer going on, if I change the speed throttle, that doesn't happen until the next replication series?
Right.
Okay.
Well, it's per command. So there's a command issued for each image to replicate the files in each image folder. So it'll happen on the next command. You can also just restart the fog image replicator and have those changes take effect immediately if you want.
All right, yeah, because the main site's under 100 meg, and then we still have a couple 10 meg sites, so I can't have it all going full bore pushing those out. I'd like to, but I can't.
Jesus asks if anyone has a working solution for imaging Mac or a universal iPixie boot disk. This would have been a question for Uncle Frank.
So with Mac, I work a lot with one of the developers, Tom Seeley. He works on almost an all Mac work site. And in general, what he made is something called Mac Boot. And it will create a new partition layout on your Mac computer. So it won't boot to Mac operating system first. It'll actually boot to iPixie and then process that and then boot to Mac. So it rewrites your partition layout to actually be a hybrid. So it's not just pure Mac system, it's going to iPixie first. On older Macs, you can bless them. That'll reconfigure them to actually boot on the network properly. But in general, what most people end up doing for new Macs is making a bootable USB and just bringing that computer to computer because of issues with Mac's NetBoot protocols.
So there you go. All right, I would say that this was a really great Hangout session for the first one.
I agree. Thank you.
Yep. Is everybody happy to end it now?
Yeah. Good. I think I've had everything answered.
All right.
Good session, Wayne.
Thank you.
Yes, thanks. Hopefully you'll do this again soon.
Yeah,
Might I suggest second one? Yes.
Yeah, I want this to be a regular thing. I don't know how often it should be. This was an hour and a half long. At this length, maybe every 2 weeks or every once a month, perhaps, would be ideal.
Maybe I could suggest too that you do record the version for maybe the YouTube channel, and that way people come back and review it.
Yeah, this is actually live streaming to YouTube right now. And then when the stream ends, YouTube will process it, and then there will be a higher quality copy available to view. So it'll be on the YouTube channel forever.
Awesome.
Where's that up arrow at?
Oh, I will post the link to the video in the forums.
Unless your girl there knows she's immortalized herself, so.
Yes, she has. Oh, we just got a message from Tom on Slack, or I did. Let's see. Let me see if I can get him in here real quick.
Okay.
Logged into Hangouts many times, have not had a single invite to accept. All right. Let me try to get Tom in here real quick, before we end.
I don't know who was asking about VMware, but I just checked the specs of mine because I was kind of curious because I couldn't remember. And it's only 1 gig and 1 CPU on ESXi running on a 4-year-old HP DL380. So pretty low spec, really.
Yeah, then I should probably be pretty decent with our standard setup.
Like Wayne said, it's more a bunch of storage. If you have a high-speed SAN or something, you can pull, have a node on and pull from there. It's going to be faster in your network throughput.
I also wanted to add, when you're imaging older machines, such as like Dell 610s or something like that, they have to decompress your compression ratio that you store your images at. the laptop will have to decompress the packets as they're coming in, so it will actually slow down your imaging process.
That's good to know.
So it is also how fast the hard drive can spit it out and write, versus also how fast the CPU can write it down and process it to the hard drive of the client.
Yep. I don't think we're going to be able to get Tom into this session. He's having some Google Hangout issues. We're going to have to get those sorted for next time for sure.
Okay.
Yep.
Thanks for trying.
All right. I guess I'll go ahead and call this Hangout a success. Thank you for attending and all of the questions, comments, and statements. This will definitely help anybody just wanting to learn about fog just by watching this video. A little on the long side, but good content.
Thank you for hosting it.
All right. And I guess we will see, hopefully, all of you again in the next Hangout session.
See you then.
See you later.
Take it easy.
Yep. Bye-bye.